tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back.
Hey guys, Coach Dan here. We are week 2, workout 2 of our fat loss phase, which is going to run for 9 to 10 weeks. Now, a funny story, that 9 or 10 weeks is actually leading into a vacation for us, and my wife was looking at accommodations in Greece or something like that, and she was, trying to find the right accommodation. She said, got to make sure we get one for the gym for you. And I go, nah, don't worry. I can take a couple of days off the gym if I need to. It's not a big deal. Just have a little bit of a break. There's nothing wrong with that. And she goes to me, I want to get her words correct here because she'll probably watch this and tell me I was wrong. She said, nah, you're no good when you don't go to the gym. And you know what? She's not wrong. So we got to give her that. She's telling truths. And sometimes the truths hurt. I am no good when I go to the gym. I'm a bit of a useless sack of shit. All right. Workout for today. This is lower body workout number 1. This is a quad dominant workout, you would say, starting off with the big quad movement, which is the big hack squat, which has been crushing me. So I want to see if I can't progress. I might get a spot on my heavy set of hack squat because I've been kind of trepidatious about going for a rep with the fear of not coming back up. So I might have to get a spot and just have a crack at that rep and see if I can actually do it. So we go hack squat first, and then we've got a high foot leg press. That high foot leg press is designed to kind of be more biased towards the glutes, but I'll show you that when we get there. Then we move on to seated hamstring curl. Nothing to it. Seated, big stretch in the hamstrings. That is my one and only hamstring exercise for the day. And then we have a few machines to go after that. Leg extension to cap the quad work off, quad volume off. With a couple of sets there. We use the yoga blocks for increased range of motion, which I'll show you that. Machine adduction, which again has been a recent addition to my programming overall. In my life, I haven't really done that one too much, but until the last, 4 to 6 weeks, because I'll explain more when I get there, but, I think that was a missing part to my leg training. And then if the gym gods are with us, I want to do a superset with the calf raise and I change it to an abdominal cable crunch. Sometimes that's not really doable in a commercial gym, but if we can go from one to the other exercise, that can kind of really help save a little bit of time and kind of move through some exercises a little bit quicker. Get out of the gym a little bit quicker, get to having some recovery. So yesterday capped off my uni project with a presentation, so that stress is gone. I feel a weight lifted off my shoulder, so I'm looking forward to a nice focus session and really enjoying this one and see if we can't progress our numbers from last week. And continue on this fat loss phase. It's all been going well so far, so we carry on. All right, hack squat, let's go. Alright, so we are on the hack squat first, big quad movement for the day. This one is probably my favorite quad movement out there, at least my perception of what is the most effective. This is probably it, right? So really smashes the quads. The back pad here versus other squatting movements such as Smith machine or free weight doesn't allow you to shoot up with your hips, so it makes it really quad dominant. Some of the other things I do is I use these yoga blocks to increase range of motion. So this will allow me to go lower, get a lot more knee flexion, well not a lot more, but more knee flexion and a good stretch on the quads. So foot positioning wise, I go pretty low on the platform, or as low as you can manage, while keeping your heels on there as you go down into your squat. My feet are pretty narrow, so almost directly down from my hips. I'll come back like such. Up, handles in. For this particular hack squat, you have to hold those handles in, control the down, nice, deep, and then drive up from there. So as we warm up and build up to our weights, I'll take multiple sets to get up to a heavy set to start off with, which I like. So that really sort of scratches the itch of lifting heavy weight and strength training, and then I back it off because too much of the heavy stuff can often lead to joint issues and stuff like that. So if your goal is muscle growth, you don't just have to lift heavy weights in a low rep range. It can be moderate, it can be high, and it can be a combination of all of them depending on what suits you well. All right, this week I'm really trying to get that heavy set. I'm really trying to go for a 8th rep. I've been struggling to kind of push that one forward. So today I might get a spot and then see if I can't push for 8 instead of getting stuck on 7 again. But we'll see as we build up in weight. Let's go. Yeah. All right, next up we are going with the leg press. We're making this leg press variation glute-biased. So you'll see the difference between that. So I do leg press 2 days a week at the moment. One is more quad dominant, this one's more glute dominant, just because it made sense on this day to do this as a glute dominant exercise, whereas I'm after a quad exercise on the other day. So usually when we are doing a leg press that is for glutes, we're going a little bit, let's go quads first. We're going a little bit lower. We're looking for maximum, well not maximum, but a lot of knee flexion to stretch the quad and make it about the quad. If we then want to make it about the glute, we'll take our feet a little bit higher. I go relatively narrow with my feet. And what you'll see is when I come to the bottom on this one, I get pretty much maximum hip flexion, so that's knees onto my chest, but maybe my knees get to 90. So if my knees are only 90, the quad's not stretching out as far, but the glute is stretching out pretty much as maximally as it can on this movement because my knee's going to my chest and it can't go through, stretching out the glute pretty significantly. So yeah, those are the two different variations of leg press. On this one, I take the weightlifting shoes off. They give the heel elevation. The heel elevation allows for more forward knee travel to make it more quad dominant, but we're not after that. We're more glute dominant here. So feet high, shoes off, or flat shoes like Chucks or Vans or something like that, or I'm going barefoot. All right, this workout smashed my quad last week, so we'll see how we recover, and we'll see how the glutes feel doing this. All right, next up we have the seated hamstring curl, which is the hamstring exercise for this day. Now, this day is predominantly a dominant day, but I'll get a little bit of hamstring volume in here, just for that little bit of extra work for the hamstrings. So on the other day, I do a belt squat RDL and a lying hamstring curl. On this day, I do the seated hamstring curl just to cap off a little bit of volume for the hamstring. So seated's a choice. There is some suggestion that the seated might be better than the lying because of the stretched position. So this is like a sit and reach stretch to start off with. But essentially what I'm going to do with this particular hamstring curl, you can see there are at least two rolls here. This one to be on the back of the ankle, this one just below the knee. If this is in the way of the knee, like if I'm too far that way, it'll block me from flexing the knee. Get into position like such. Heels come to butt, control the way up, heels to butt. Now, at the end of this set, you'll also notice that I finish off with some half reps or some lengthened partials because my strength is such that in this kind of movement and this muscle group, we're stronger at this top half. So when I can no longer get it down to hit the end of the machine, I'll go halfway to kind of just get that little bit extra stimulus. This is a hard machine to get better at, so I'm working really hard to try and progress here, but the struggle is real. All right, let's smash it out. We have leg extension to cap off the quad volume. Leg extension has been going pretty good for me. One of the things about some leg extensions, this one as well I suppose, is that there is a limited of range of motion. So it doesn't really put your knee into heaps of hip flexion. Knee flexion. So it doesn't really push your ankle that far back that way. So what I do to counteract that is put this yoga block here, which will then push my foot back that way, flex my knee a little bit more. It takes a little bit of setting up at the beginning, but hopefully it's more effective. The other thing I do with the leg extension is I take the back pad all the way back. Now what that's going to do, it's going to open up the hip, and the muscle that the leg press is probably best suited to train, well, let's say this, that it doesn't get trained very well on other movements, is the rectus femoris, because it's also a hip flexor. So it passes over the knee and it also passes into the hip. And if we talk about what I always talk about on this channel, training the muscle in a long muscle length, if I'm like this, it's shortened. When I squat or leg press or anything like this, as I'm kind of flexing the knee and stretching it out, I'm also shortening it at this joint. So it's kind of doing opposing things on squats, leg presses, hack squats, all these kinds of things. So on this, I lean back, open up the hip, take the foot as far back that way as possible to kind of make this as much about the rectus femoris as possible. I take the setting all the way to the furthest, lean back, extend the knee, control the way down, extend the knee. So, we got 2 sets here. That caps off the quad volume. The hard thing about it, make sure it's strapped down nice and tight, otherwise it moves around on you. So, I'll get that set, build up to our weight, and then we shall do it. Alright, we are working into some of the last things for the day. So this is going to be a leg press calf raise. I like the leg press calf raise just because it kind of takes any kind of load off you or off your system or anything like that, where you can just work the calves, not have to put a bar on your back like Smith machine or something like that. I wouldn't mind something like a belt squat calf raise, but then you got to add all those weights on, and it tends to be a high weight because of the leverage. So this is one of the better variations, I think, with all things considered. So very straightforward. A leg press where there's no thing down here is worthwhile because then it stops range of motion, which we have a leg press there that does that. So half the foot on, half the foot off. Up she goes. Heel goes down and underneath, raising onto the toes. Heel down and underneath, raising onto the toes. Now what can happen, and does happen with me, depending on footwear or your leg press itself, you can slip. So I shuffle back on and reset. We want at least, let's say this is my foot, we want at least the ball of the big toe on it the whole time, such that we can produce good force. Okay, now in times gone by, I do this as a superset, but that is a little bit difficult with things like filming, as well as different people in a commercial gym. So I'm gonna do 4 sets here as a single set training. All right, let's build up to our weight. I think we're going 100 each side, and then we're on. Alright, so things have been a bit out of order, but we finally made our way to the machine adduction. So adduction, as the name suggests, is about bringing the legs towards your body. And the muscles that do that are our adductors, and they kind of run through the center of our leg or thigh into the kind of groin. I've got plenty of quad work everywhere else, but adductors don't get as much love. Like, you could take different stances, such as wider stances, but if I want to make those for quads and stuff like that, I've found that that's not always ideal. So we get a couple of sets of adduction work in here. I use this machine just because it's easiest to set up. It works pretty well from the sensations that I've got, or my perception of how it works is pretty good. Very, very straightforward. So this is a adduction and abduction. So you can do the reverse where you push the legs out, or where we pull the legs in, which is what we're doing today. There's a handle on this side. We'll take that to the top. Take that out as wide as your mobility allows. I'm kind of the second to last notch. Leaning back, in my opinion, is worthwhile. So leaning back will help stretch out those adductors as well, because they are also hip flexors. So hip flexion being this kind of motion there, which the adductors will help with as well. So if we want to stretch them out further, push this out as wide as you can manage, and leaning back is probably the best kind of situation as far as that goes. And then we're just driving legs towards one another. Open up. And that's that. I've heard these called a few different things: good girls, bad girls, and also yes, no's. All right, that felt heavy already, so this might be challenging. Let's get it on. Finishing off with our ab work. So I've recently changed from doing the abdominal crunch machine here, just because I found myself, it's kind of one of those ones where you have elbows and you kind of push down on that. I found myself just pushing down and not relying on my abs. My abs felt pretty busted afterwards, but I think this is better. So this is an abdominal cable crunch with the rope, which I'll pull down and show you in a second here. I do it facing out up against this post. So I essentially put my butt right over the top of this post. So sorry to the next person that uses this, to give me some form of stability. I bring it down like such. I pin the forearms to my head, butt on the post, and then we're crunching down like this. Now, I started doing it this way versus facing in as I used to, because I found that, again, the resistance is probably not where I want it to be. This way it's at the beginning. And I've also started leaning forward more. So we take some of the hip flexion away. I can just kind of get into a hip flex position and focus on this abdominal crunch, because that's essentially the job of our abs, is to kind of take the top of your, the bottom of your sternum, take it towards your pelvis, not to flex your hips like this. So that's hip flexion. This is spinal flexion, what we want, right? To use the abs in that sort of form, which, yeah, I found it to work well. And I'll continue to do it this way. Yeah, that's it. I do a pretty heavy weight on this, so it's good for the ego. Let's go. Okay, that's a wrap on the workout, guys. Much happier with that one than yesterday's workout. To be fair, the performance was not exceptional, but psychologically and mentally I was just much more focused today, much more enjoyable, all that kind of stuff. Yesterday, feeling stressed about doing a presentation. I just wasn't engaged, and then, I couldn't do my exercise selection in order due to the busyness of the gym, so I was getting a bit shitty at that. Today, much better. Psychologically, feel like I was able to focus more, enjoy myself a lot more and all that kind of stuff, even though it was a tough day, which is a legs day. That's pretty tough, I find. Now, to be fair, the hack squat, she's a cruel mistress, that one. That is really difficult for me to get better, so I might need a change of game plan, change of rep range, change of something to kind of push me forward on that. But other than that, everything was quite good. Progress was there, just there, you know what I mean? Enough to kind of keep me not having to change too much else. So all good. Let's go into tomorrow's pull workout. Same energy, same focus, and then, try and crush that as well. As always, guys, if you could hit the little subscribe up here, very, very appreciated, much appreciated. If you want to watch some further content, other videos of different workouts and stuff like that, click this button up here. And as always, it's about progress over perfection. Coach Dan, signing off.